أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة يا مظلوم يا غريب يا شهيد كربلاء، يا ليتنا يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. A second for the love of Imams Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein. A third for the love of Fatima Zahra with your loudest voices. Last night we began a topic regarding understanding the opposite gender. And we said that a key factor to a successful marriage is that a man understands the psychology of a woman, how she thinks, what she wants, what she desires, how does she perceive certain facts, how does she analyze events. And that's why last night we talked about what women want, what they desire, what they expect of a man. And the same goes for a woman. She also has to understand the psychology of a man. She also has to understand how a man thinks, how a man reacts, what are his wants, what does he want, what does he expect of his wife, what are his desires. This is extremely important. If a man and woman understand one another, their desires, their wants, their needs, what they like and what they don't like, they will have a successful marriage. They will have a normal marriage. They will have a marriage without problems. But unfortunately, the problem is that men go into marriage thinking that a woman thinks like a man. A woman goes into a marriage thinking that a man thinks like a woman. We forget that our differences are not just physical, but they're also psychological. This is very important. So last night, we talked about what women want, and tonight, to be fair, we have to talk about what men want as well. وصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. To be fair, before I begin, men are simple creatures. They're easy to understand. Men are not too difficult to understand and read. Women, on the other hand, they're complex. They're a lot more difficult to read and understand. You see, with a lot of men, what you see is what you get. A lot of men, they don't go around the bush. They don't beat around the bush. If they have a desire, they make it clear. While for women, it's a bit more complex. And this is from Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah made men in a certain way, and He made women in a certain way. So generally speaking, of course, when I generalize tonight and last night when I generalized, for every rule there's what? There's an exception. So I don't want you to come and say, well, no, my husband is not like this, or my wife is not like this. Yes, because for every rule there's an exception. We are talking generally speaking. Okay, so what do men want? Number one, صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Number one, appreciation. A man wants to be appreciated for what he offers his family. He wants to know that everything that he's done for his family does not go unnoticed, but it's appreciated. That is why there are two sentences that men really enjoy hearing. One, I'm proud of you. Two, dinner is ready. These are their two favorite sentences. One, I'm proud of you. Last night, the brothers and sisters, mashallah, the sisters crowd doubled tonight, I don't know why. If you remember, the first thing that we talked about, what women want, is love. And we said the sentence that a woman will never get sick of hearing is, I love you. For men, it's not I love you. Love is good. If they hear it, it's good. But there's something more important than to say I love you, to hear I love you. I'm proud of you. A man wants to hear I'm proud of you from his wife. Why? Because he's done so much. At least in his mind. In his mind, he feels that he's done so much. So he wants to be appreciated. He wants his wife to acknowledge the fact that he's worked hard to provide and to protect, and that she's proud of him. Or if she tells him, I'm lucky to be with someone like you. If a man hears that, believe me, if he hears this sentence from his wife, he will be willing to swim oceans for her. He'll be willing to do whatever she wants. Because that sentence is comforting. I'm lucky to have someone like you. Why appreciation? Why? What's the difference? We know why a woman wants to hear the sentence, I love you, from her husband. But why does a husband want to hear the word, I'm proud of you, from his wife? You know why? Because men, they take pride in providing and protecting their families. That's their number one pride. Their number one pride is that they go out and work, they make a living, and they bring money back home. They're able to pay off the expenses. His wife, whatever she needs, is able to pay for that. His kids, whatever they need, he's able to pay for that. That is his number one pride. If a man is not able to provide and protect his family, his pride is shattered. He doesn't feel like a man because he's not providing. So the scale of success for most men is how much they provide for the family. If the family is well taken care of, they're not left in need. He's paying for the mortgage, he's paying for rent, he's paying for all of their expenses. He feels like a man. He's done his job. But in return, he wants some acknowledgement. He wants to know that his wife acknowledges the fact that he's done so much and he's worked so hard. Right? Because he wants to provide and protect. You know, why do some men push off marriage? I see some men, they delay marriage in their 30s and their 40s. They don't get married. And I know a reason why a lot of men, they delay marriage. You know why? Because they don't have the expenses to get married. I tell some youth, you don't have money, Allah will send you money. He says, no. I want to be able to have a house. I want a sustainable income so that my wife is proud of me. I don't want to go into a marriage and be in debt and not know how to pay off my mortgage and pay off, my expenses. You see? Because men take pride in providing for their families, in protecting their families, making sure that their wife and children, they go to sleep, they're full, they're warm, they have a good house, a warm bed. That's important for all men. That's why some men, they go through midlife crisis. A lot of men, they go through a midlife crisis. In their 40s, in their 50s, all of a sudden, they get depression. They get anxiety, especially if they lose a job or they can't find a job. There's a great deal of men, they go through major depression if they lose their job. Why? Because having a job means being able to provide for your family. Not having a job means you cannot provide for your family. That means his pride is shattered. His ego is shattered. A man's self-worth, according to him, according to his psychology, is how much he provides his family. So when he can't provide, that ego, that pride is shattered. When he does provide, he wants appreciation. He wants his wife to tell him that she's proud of him, that she appreciates him, that she's lucky to have him. So note to the ladies, once in a while, doesn't take much. It's only a couple of words. To you, it doesn't take much, but for him, it means a lot. Tell him you're proud of him. Tell him you appreciate what he does. Tell him that you are lucky to have him. Also, my dear sisters, contentment is very important. Very important. There are some ladies, they're not satisfied with whatever the man does and provides. They're never satisfied. They're never content. There are some women, I don't mean to generalize, of course. This is not all, but there are some, few. They're always nagging. Although the husband provides and he does all that he can, but she's never happy. You never do this. You never do that. How come your sister, she always uses his sister as an excuse. Your sister has this, her husband does this for her. My friend, she has this, but you never do this. That's the worst thing for a man to hear. A woman nag about what he provides, because he thinks that he's doing everything that he can. But at the end of the day, she's still not satisfied. This is very painful. So contentment, my dear brothers and sisters, is very important, very crucial. So number one, appreciation. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Number two, what do men want? Number two, every man wants peace and quiet. When he comes back from home, when he comes back from work, he comes home from a long day, a difficult day at work. He comes home, he wants his house to be peaceful, to be quiet. He wants to have a warm meal, a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, watch the news, and sleep peacefully. No man wants to come back home to a chaotic house with fights, with arguments. He doesn't want to come back and have confrontations with his wife. You know, there's some men, they come back home and the wife is waiting at the door. She already has a list for him. He hasn't even entered the house and the nagging begins. Today this happened, that happened. This is wrong. This is wrong. When a man comes back to the house, he's had enough battles at work. He doesn't want to have any more battles at home. He's had plenty of battles at work with his boss, with his co-workers, with the places that he's visited. Now that he's come home, he wants to relax. He wants some peace and quiet. For every man, his home is his safe haven. It's his paradise. It's where he can relax. He doesn't want to have battles at home. He doesn't want his home to turn into hell. He wants it to be his paradise. A couple of days ago, just 2 days ago, I was reading an article, maybe in the New York Times, I don't remember, about a Turkish researcher who went to Malaysia, and he spoke about Islam and freedom, Islam and human rights, Islam and how Islam gives humans the choice. No, he spoke about the verse, no compulsion in religion, la ikraha fi din. Anyhow, apparently in Malaysia, they're very influenced by certain dogmatic countries, which we all know. They have religious police. You can't say whatever you want to say. If you say anything, immediately you go to jail. So this poor guy, they took him to jail for speaking about human rights in Islam. He got arrested, and then they let him go. The next day, he went to the airport at Kuala Lumpur. He's flying back home to the United States of America. They didn't allow him to fly. They took him to a room, and he was questioned by several police officers, and they made him lose his flight, miss his flight. He stayed for maybe a day or 2 days. He says, as soon as they arrested me, the first thing that I thought of was my house. When am I going to be able to go to my home, my wife, my children, my home? Why? Because for men, all the difficulties that they face at work during the day, but their comfort is that they're going to be able to go home to their wife, to their kids. For every man, his house is his safe haven. He wants it to be peaceful and quiet. He doesn't want to have battles at home. So too, every man wants peace and quiet at home. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Number 3. Every man wants to be taken care of. Now, what do I mean by this, taken care of? Please allow me, because this might be a bit sensitive, and I will not go into details. You will get the message right away, inshallah. A man wants to be taken care of, but how? As I said in the beginning, men are simple creatures. Men are simple creatures. They are not too demanding. One, every man wants a delicious meal. He wants good food. And he wants other things. ... Right? And I think you get the message. If a man gets both, he's a happy man. He's in heaven. He's satisfied. If these two things are provided at home, he's provided with delicious food from his wife, and he's provided other things, he's a happy man. As Americans say, he's a happy camper. He's good. He doesn't need gifts or jewelry or diamonds, as we talked about last night. You know, a woman would appreciate jewelry, diamonds, flowers once in a while. Men don't want that. They don't want gifts. Maybe some do, but generally speaking, a man doesn't look for gifts or jewelry or something expensive from his wife. He wants two things. If these two things are met, if he's satisfied, he's good. That's why they say that the fastest way to a man's heart is what? The famous saying. The fastest way to a man's heart is his stomach, and I add, and ... Those are the two fastest ways to a man's heart. If they are provided, he's set. That's why I tell my dear sisters, my dear ladies, take care of your man. It doesn't take much. It doesn't cost much. You can take care of him. Look good for your husband. Dress up for your husband. Put on makeup for your husband. You know, there's some ladies, they dress up and they put on makeup, but not for the husband when they go out. When they go out to majalis, to other places. While in Islam, it's the other way around. Don't dress up for other men. Dress up for your husband. At home, dress up whatever you'd like. Put as much makeup as you want. Put as much perfume as you want. For your husband, not for any other man. Do this for your husband. There are some ladies, after 2 years, 3 years after the marriage, they stop. They stop taking care of themselves. They don't dress up at home. Dressing up is only outside of the house. No, dress up inside of the house. Look good for your husband. Put on makeup. This is important. Believe me, if you do this, you will not look anywhere else. You'll be satisfied. His eyes will not be looking at any other place. Because what he wants is being provided at home. He's secure. This is very important for a man. Unfortunately, some ladies, they don't understand this. It's very important for a man to be satisfied at home, not to be starved physically and emotionally. This is important. If a man is not well taken care of at home, this will cause him anxiety. This will cause him stress. He cannot work. He cannot think if he's not taken care of at home. So my dear sisters, my note to you is, don't torture him. Don't torture. Don't keep him starved. Provide that which he needs. You know, there's some that make up excuses. Oh, I have a headache tonight. Oh, I'm tired. Don't make excuses. If you genuinely do not feel well, that's another issue. But don't make excuses. If a man has his needs, provide him those needs. He's not asking for more. Yeah, certain needs to be taken care of, and he'll be set. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Number 4. Every man wants a wife that makes him feel like a man. What do I mean by this? You see, men, they're decision makers. They take pride in making the decisions. They're the man of the house. The man of the house makes decisions. Allow him to make those decisions. Right? Don't argue with all of his decisions. You know, there's some ladies, they argue over the smallest things. Whatever the man decides, they argue. No, we're not going to do this. No, we're not going to do that. This tarnishes his ego. The man wants to take decisions. And there's some, I've seen some men, they say that whatever I say, whatever I decide, my wife objects to me. She says no. If I say right now it's night, she says no, it's day. If I say it's day, she says no, it's night. I've seen some families like that. The wife and the husband, they constantly argue. They can't make a decision. A wife constantly opposes the decision of her husband. This is not right, my dear friends. This is not right. Don't oppose all of his decisions. You know why? Because he'll take it personally. He'll think that you are purposely objecting to him. You are purposely opposing him. You have something against him. He'll take it personally. Although I am sure you're not making it personally. You have your own opinion, and you're entitled to your own opinion. But there's a way of expressing that opinion. You can advise him in a diplomatic fashion. And you know, ladies, they're perfect in diplomacy. They're very good in diplomacy. They have the ability to convince in a peaceful way. You know, have you seen men when they argue? Men, when they argue, within 5 minutes, they could be punching each other. Immediately they become aggressive. They don't have so much diplomacy. Ladies, in their hearts, they want to kill each other, right? But they don't. They're very diplomatic, and they know how to convince one another at the end, and then they kiss each other, and everything's fine. They're very diplomatic. Well, this diplomacy that you use with other women, use it with your husband. Be diplomatic with him. Convince him in a diplomatic way, not in an aggressive way, not in an offensive way. Advise him, but in an indirect way. You know, a woman has the power to get her husband to agree with her, but indirectly. He will think it's his decision. It's not his decision, it's hers. But he thinks it's his. Because women have that power. They have the power for the man to think he came up with the idea, he got it from his wife. All it requires is to be diplomatic. Be diplomatic. And you could have your way, instead of opposing him all the time and every time. Also, my dear ladies, you know, when I say a man wants a woman that makes him feel like a man, you have to support him. A husband wants a supportive wife. Support him in fulfilling his dreams. You could do that. You know, when they say that behind every successful man, behind every great man is a great woman, it's true. It's true. Behind every great man, there's a woman that was pushing him, that was helping him fulfill his dreams, telling him that you could do it. You could achieve your dreams. You want to start a business, you could do it. You want to become a doctor, you could do it. I know you. I know you could do this. Simple words, but these words, they will have a major impact on the mind and heart of that man. Tell him that you could fulfill your dreams, that I will be with you no matter what, whether you fail or you succeed, but you will succeed. These words, they have an impact. So try them and see the result. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Number 5. Every man wants his mother and his wife to get along. This is something that every man wants. Every man's desire for his mother and his wife to get along and to be peaceful. You know how when Martin Luther King, he said, I have a dream. Remember? That white people and black people, they get along. All men have a dream. All men have one desire. And this desire is for their mother and their wife to get along, to love each other, to have a respectful relationship. You know why? Because when they don't, who's going to be the victim? These poor guys. They're the victim. When the mother and the wife, they don't get along, they could care less. But the poor husband has to deal with it. Because he, you know, all men hate nagging. The nagging is going to be doubled by 2. When he goes to his mother, he's going to listen to nagging. And he comes to his wife, he's going to listen to nagging. Your mother did this, your wife did this. And it's an endless war. You know, some men, jokingly, they say if Palestinians and Israelis, one day they got along, but my mother and wife will never get along. It's that bad. For his sake, if you love your husband, out of respect and love for your husband, get along with his wife. Have respect for his mother. Get along with his mother. Have respect for his mother. You know, in Arabic there's a saying that says, لأجل عيل ألف عين تكرم. If you love your husband, you would love his mother. If you have respect for your man, have respect for his mother. She's his mother. She brought him to life. Don't expect him to abandon his mother overnight. As soon as he gets married, he's going to abandon his mother. He can't. You can't steal him away from his mother. So the best way is to get along and to have mutual respect. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So these are some things that men want. Now there are some things that they don't want. There are some things that they hate. What are those things? One, fights and arguments. Men hate fights and arguments. That's the last thing that they want to have at home. That's the last thing that they want to have with their wife. Men don't want to have arguments and fights at home. They'll do anything not to have a fight, not to have an argument. You know, that's why, you know what's the worst thing that a man could hear from his wife? We said the best thing that he could hear from his wife is what? I'm proud of you. You know what's the worst thing that he could hear from his wife? We need to talk. This is the worst. This is the worst. Because what it means is that he's either in trouble, he's done something wrong, or they're about to get in a fight. And no man wants that. Remember, they want to come back home to a peaceful and quiet house. They don't want to get in a fight and an argument. Whenever you see a man fighting with his wife, know that that's his worst times. That's his worst times. That's his dreaded moments. He doesn't want that. So try to avoid fights and arguments. That's the last thing that a man has on his schedule, to fight with his wife. Two, something that men don't like. They don't like talking. They like doing. Most men, really, most men, they don't like talking. They're not good in expressing themselves. That's why a lot of men, let's say they get in an argument or fight. A man gets in a fight with his wife. The next day he'll go and he buys jewelry or diamonds, and he comes and he presents it to his wife. If he were to sit and talk for an hour and express himself and say he's sorry and why he did what he did, he might not need to buy jewelry. But for men, buying jewelry is easier. He goes and he buys a couple of diamonds, flowers, a gift, and he brings it to his wife, and he'll save him that hour of talking. Because men hate talking. Of course, with their friends, they don't mind talking. If it comes to politics, they love talking about politics. Sports, politics, the Middle East. With friends. But when it comes to his wife, some men, they can't express themselves. It's not in them. It's in their DNA. It's in their DNA. It's not their fault. So a note to my dear sisters, when you see your husband, he doesn't talk that much, he's not talkative, welcome to the club. He's not the only man. Ask your friends, ask your female friends, and she'll tell you, my husband is the same, my husband is the same. We're all the same. Men are not great in expressing themselves. They hate talking, they love doing, buying. They don't mind. They will express themselves through actions, not through words. So keep this in mind. Number three, something that all men dread and hate and dislike. A woman with a sharp tongue. All men dread this. No husband wants a wife with a sharp tongue. I'm being very honest. A wife that criticizes her husband, ridicules him. She always has an answer ready. Have you seen some wives? It's as if she had planned the answer before you even spoke. She knew what you were about to say. She has the answer ready, fixed. Men don't like this. This is unladylike. He wants respect. Especially if his wife disrespects him in front of others. That's a no-no. That's a big insult. In front of guests, Or you are visiting other people's homes, and she comes and she disrespects you in front of other people, in front of guests. This is intolerable for a lot of men. You don't want to be disrespected. My dear sisters, if you disrespect your man in front of others, those people will not only will they not respect your husband, they will not respect you either. They will not respect you either. The more you have respect for your man, they will respect him and they will respect you as well. And of course it's reciprocal. A husband has to respect his wife as well. It's mutual. When we say that a wife has to respect her husband in front of others, the man has to respect his wife in front of others. This doesn't give them a man the green light to disrespect his wife in front of others. Also, don't disrespect one another in front of your kids. This is very important. Very important. Have respect for one another in front of your children. Don't disrespect him in front of his sons and daughters. And the same goes for the lady. Don't disrespect your wife in front of the children. You have an argument, you have a fight, let your children go to sleep and do whatever you want to each other. But not in front of the kids. Of course, not literally. Not in front of the kids. The kids, this is very painful for them to see their parents fight, argue, disrespect one another, use painful words. You know, it will never go out of their memory. It will never leave their memory. They will remember for 20 years, 30 years, they will remember the day that their parents had a fight. Of course, this is something normal. It will happen. But in the future, this is something that we can all overcome and avoid. And lastly, one of the things that all men dislike and hate is a wife that tells everything to her mother. This is something that all men cannot tolerate. My dear brothers and sisters, my dear ladies, what happens in the house, let it stay in the house. Don't let it get out of the house. Not to your friends, not to your family members, and not to your mothers. You don't have to tell everything to your mother. There are some secrets that should be kept secrets. That is why a secret is called a secret. You shouldn't tell everything to your mother. If there's good things, tell her the good things. But you don't have to tell her all the bad things. Some things should remain a secret between you and your husband forever. Between you and your wife forever. Don't tell your parents. Don't tell your friends. Keep it a secret between you. You know, I've seen some families, the wife is not getting along with the husband. So she goes and she tells her mother. What happens? Her mother begins to hate her son-in-law. Obviously, if she hears her daughter complain about her husband all the time, she's going to develop hate for her son-in-law. And then, well, no husband and wife will remain not speaking forever. At the end of the day, they will begin speaking again. They will make up. The wife will get along with her husband, but her mother, she will continue hating her son-in-law. You see? You will make up with your husband eventually. If not the next day, after 3 days, 4 days, after a week, you will get along with your husband. But your mother, whenever she sees your husband, she'll hate him. Why? Because you've given her so much information about him that she will never forget. So keep it a secret. Whatever happens between a husband and wife should remain between the husband and wife and should never leave the house. وصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Now let's come to Karbala, my dear brothers and sisters. Let's come. What is happening with the caravan of Imam Hussein these days? They are headed towards Kufa. The caravan is headed towards Kufa. Long days, long nights ahead of them. Several days on the road to Kufa. The ladies, the women, the children, they're in chains. Imam Zain al-Abidin has the jami'ah around his neck. You know what the jami'ah is? The jami'ah is a long piece of wood with two pieces. One is around his neck from this side and the other is from that side. And his hands are also in the piece of wood. This is called al-jami'ah. Imam Zain al-Abidin had his neck and his hands tied in one piece of wood. And there's chains around him. Heavy chains. Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam was skin and bones. He was so ill. Imagine, he's not healthy, he's not feeling well, and he has so many chains around his neck. And the same for the woman, the same for the children. So much pain. And on top of all of this, the head of the martyrs, Imam Hossein and his brothers and his children and his nephews, they're on spears. And they're with the caravan. And they're surrounding the caravan. Whenever these children, they want to forget about the tragedy of Ashura, but they see the heads of their fathers and their uncles on the spears. Allahu Akbar. So much pain. The head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is on the spear. The wind is blowing. His blessed beard, the wind is playing with his blessed beard. And the head of Imam Hussein would speak. He would say, وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. And those who oppress will know what will happen to them in the next life. And he would also say, the head of Imam Hussein would speak the Quran. أَحَسِبْتَ أَصْحَابَ الْكَهْفِ وَالرَّقِيمِ كَانُوا مِنْ آيَاتِنَا عَجَبًا. Imam Hussein would always say this verse. One day, the caravan of Imam Hussein is going towards Kufa. They saw that the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was on a spear, yet the head turned the other way and he started looking in the middle of the desert. The eyes of Imam Hussein were gazing in one direction. They did not know what is the reason for this. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, she had a sense of why the head of Aba Abdullah was looking in one direction. She counted the number of children and she noticed that there was one of the daughters of Imam Hussein was missing. They had forgotten her in the desert. They went back and in the middle of the desert they found one of the daughters of Imam Hussein lost in the middle of the desert. They realized that Aba Abdullah was watching over his orphans and children. Although he was dead, yet he was thinking of his women and children. 3 days after Ashura, these bodies were left on the battleground without a proper burial, without a proper shrouding, without a proper washing. For 3 days, these bodies remained on the battleground. It was on the 3rd day after Ashura, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, as a miracle, he came back to Karbala through Tayy al-Ard. Imam Zain al-Abidin, without the enemy forces realizing and recognizing, he came back to Karbala to bury the dead. Allahu Akbar. On a day like tomorrow, Imam Zain al-Abidin came back to Karbala to bury his father and his uncle and his brothers. Bani Sa'd, a tribe that lived on the outskirts of Karbala, they came on the 3rd after the day of Ashura, And they told him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, let us help you bury the dead. He said, yes, you may help me bury the companions, but ask for my father, Aba Abdullah, then I do not need your help. I will bury him on my own. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he dug the grave of Aba Abdullah. He went, he gathered the pieces of the body of Imam Hossein alayhi salam. He gathered them all in one place. He entered the grave of his father and he put the pieces of his father's body in the grave. The Imam's body was cut into pieces, his chest in one piece, the hands in another piece, the broken bones. Without proper burial, without proper washing, without ghusl, without kafan. Imam Zayn al-Abidin buried his father the way he found him on the battleground. When he buried his father, when he was leaving the grave, he heard a voice from the grave of Aba Abdullah. His father began to speak to him. He told him, my dear son, nawilni waladi al-radhi'. My son Ali, bring the infant Abdullah and put him on my chest. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he went and he brought Abdullah al-Radhi' and he buried him on the chest of his father, Aba Abdullah. Now sometimes when I'm in Karbala, I'm standing for ziyarah, there are some, they come and they say, Sayyid, where's the grave of Ali al-Akbar? Where's the grave of the companions? Where's the grave of this person, that person? And they always ask, Sayyid, where's the grave of Abdullah al-Radhi'? Whenever they ask, they bring tears to my eyes. I tell them, Abdullah is buried on the chest of his father. He put the infant next to the chest of his father, and he left the grave. He poured the dust on top of the grave of Aba Abdullah. He removed the dust from his hand. Tears started streaming on the cheeks of Imam Zayn al-Abidin. He said, Aba Abdullah, أما الدنيا فبعدك مظلمة وأما الآخرة فبنور وجهك مشرقة. As for this life, my dear father, this life is dark without you. It's as if the sun has set and never reappears again. And as for the akhirah, it is shining with your blessed face, my dear father, Aba Abdullah. And then he buried his brother Ali al-Akbar underneath the feet of his father. And then they buried the 72 companions underneath the feet of Ali al-Akbar. One by one, the companions were buried. Bani Asad, they helped him bury the companions, but he did not need their help in the burial of his father. And then they came to him. They told him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, we found a body next to the river of the Euphrates, the body of a champion. We don't know whose body it is. He said, this is the body of my uncle, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. They told him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, he's a champion lying next to the river, but there's an arrow in his eye and an arrow in his chest. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he went next to the river and he buried his uncle right there next to the river. A special grave for his uncle Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. This occurred on a day like tomorrow. Imagine all of these bodies were buried in the land of Karbala. After 40 days, as Sayyidah Zainab and the caravan came back, they saw the bodies are now under the grave, under the sand. خويا أنا جيتك وجبت الراس وياي من السبع وكانت بيه سلواي. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Raise your hands in dua. This is the last night of our majlis. May Allah answer our dua and accept these blessed nights that we came and we shed these tears for Aba Abdullah. Inshallah, Imam Hussein will stand for us on the Day of Judgment. We will need his intercession at the time of death, in our grave, on the Day of Judgment, when we pass the bridge. We need Aba Abdullah. Oh Aba Abdullah, we came to these majalis of yours these nights. Do not forget us when we need you in the Akhirah. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العلي الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرت، ولا هما إلا فرجت، ولا عيبا إلا سترت، ولا خوفا إلا آمنته، ولا رزقا إلا بسطته، ولا شملا إلا جمعته، ولا مرضا إلا شفيته، ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته، ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم ارزقنا في الدنيا زيارة الحسين، وفي الآخرة شفاعة الحسين، ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء. نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.